Scums, welcome in to yet another installment of the GA Scumbags podcast. Tyler will not be with us tonight. He's got other stuff going on. Something about I'm joining Section 17 Media. You guys suck. I couldn't quite make out what he was saying over text, but anyhow, he won't be with us tonight. We're gonna bring you a somewhat abbreviated episode here because we're just doing the preview, but we'll still have mailbag. We'll still have best bets. We'll still have our MVP, et cetera, et cetera. Before we get into anything else, Noah, let's talk about your screen name really quick here.
Yeah, we figured since there wasn't a Duke game to talk about, we'd talk about a little bit of the landscape of college football. It's one of the wildest seasons that, fans could possibly ever remember. We thought James Franklin might have been the iceberg. BCAC, Brian Kelly killed a kid, and really he's like responsible for like ruining like 20 people's lives and like killing like three of them. So, Brian Kelly released from LSU, $50+ million buyout. They got absolutely trounced by our former head coach Midnight Mike. A&M looks good. They look like a playoff team. He sold his soul in that Notre Dame game to make the playoff this year. So,
And
you
that
know,
check cash, baby.
yeah,
He got
that
all that.
they might lose one regular season game, but like man, they're good. And like I'll give credit where it's due. As a football fan, that's a fun team to watch right now. And Marcel Reed, Concepcion, they got his ass out of Raleigh, and he looks like Cal Megatron now. Dave Doran's not hitting him with hammers all the time, trying to keep him off the field. So
Yeah,
that's nice.
even more misery added on to NC State this season.
Yeah. Well, ACC roundup action. As everyone knows, we're pretty big Demon Deeks homers for Jake Dickert here, and they handed SMU their first ACC regular season loss. So,
Hell yeah.
welcome to the club, SMU. Wake is one bad offsides call away against Georgia Tech from being 6-1 and ranked like 17th right now. So got to give it up for what Dickert's done because you looked at that roster preseason and the talent wasn't there to win 6 games. They're one win away now. So I mean, good for them. And Virginia's still rolling, and we got them coming up soon, so we'll be diving into them more as the season progresses. But
Both
yeah,
Wake and Virginia, dude. I mean, before the season started, we thought UVA and Wake were going to be two of our like almost guaranteed wins. Now they're looking like they might be two of our guaranteed losses.
yeah, you just can't write Jay Dickert off, man. I mean, if we've been talking about the spooky season of coaches and all this and that and the carousel of the off season, and we're not claiming anything or saying anything, but hypothetically, and I've said Jason Candle, I've said Jamie Chadwell, whatever. But if I could give one guy a like stay at Duke forever thing right now, I'd probably go for Dickert. That guy fucks. I like him a lot. Like what the Demon Deeks are doing. He won me over at Media Day, but I certainly didn't think he would win the games. But it's nice to see it happening so quickly for them. But yeah, it was a pretty wild weekend. Some great games, and yeah, it was pretty. You know, guess we'll get into the mailbag and kind of start rocking on the Duke side of things.
Yep, yep. I'm trying to think about the rest of the ACC. Anything interesting happen?
UNC,
Stanford kept it interesting in the first half against Miami. Nothing really ended up happening there. Miami turned on the Jets in the second half. What else? Yeah, I was at the UNC UVA game. I forgot about that. I don't want to say I was pulling for UNC because I wasn't, but a win for UNC over UVA would have helped Duke at least short term. It would have had one more one-loss ACC team. That being said, what a finish. Literally a game of inches there. State got throttled by Pitt.
God, bad
They
dude.
are cooked. I saw a tweet that said from a state account that says something like, our ACC hopes are gone and we're playing a ranked team at home. This is the exact kind of game that a shitty NC State team wins. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, that Georgia Tech game, looking ahead like to this weekend, like if there's one game left that State just outright would win by
For
like
no
in a
reason.
dominant fashion, they would beat the brakes off Georgia Tech.
This is one of those games that like state fans talk about on TikTok like 20 years down the line. Like nothing else really happened that season, but that game happened.
Yes.
This has all the makings of being that game.
It'll be like some bullshit where CJ Bailey like gets like the his final like fake injury before he transfers to Miami, and like some old backup kid nobody's thought about all year just comes in there and throttles Brent Key and the boys. So
Yup, no
yeah,
doubt.
that's definitely one to look at this weekend in the ACC for sure.
Um, yeah, get into mailbag. A little bit of a thinner mailbag this week, but that's to be expected. Starting it off with a familiar face, our friend Sam at Bleeding Duke Blue. He says, without having to walk the distance of a marathon this time, what will Dabo have to complain about? The man runs down a hill before each home game, but he complains about walking on a flat surface. For those of you who may not be familiar, which I imagine anyone who listens to this podcast knows what this is about, ahead of the Clemson and Duke game in 2023, Dabo complained about the distance between the visitors' locker room at Wallace Wade and the visitors' sideline. They had to walk down like a sidewalk along the practice field and through, some inflatables and whatnot for the kids. It's a whole thing. Um, and then he says, but for real, what is the area that we should look to take advantage of Clemson in the most?
Yeah. Um, for me with Clemson, it's the offensive line for them struggles mightily. I think that the key to success for Duke to, stay and have a chance to win the game would be, six plus QB pressures and probably three plus sacks. But that O line they've got, it's just real young and real injured, and there's not really anything they can do about it at this point in the year. So they're just kind of putting whatever out there. So, I would look to see VJ, Wes, and those guys really kind of eat it up.
No doubt. To be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Clemson this year. I just know they're struggling, so like I really can't give like an expert opinion or analysis here. But I know that Klubnik has been dealing with injuries and may or may not be starting this weekend. Knowing the kind of luck that Duke has, he will be starting. Um, I'm not entirely sure, but I'll put my stock in what Noah is saying here.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, just to, I guess, maybe elaborate on a second like grouping. Just from what I've saw, especially Clemson versus Georgia Tech, and this will play to Duke's advantage because God, have we struggled. Their receivers have a really tough time getting separation and holding on to the football. Which Chandler's been great all year. His coverage has been good, but we've lacked in our man-to-man coverage, which getting forced to play zone all the time has really got us ate up in a lot of second halves this year. So if we can kind of find a decent man coverage plan and scheme and stick to it, we should also find some success in that department.
yeah, agreed. Our friend Mensa Maniac at Matthew Lofton 15, he says, taking a step back and seeing how it has unfolded, we would be okay if we said we were 4-3 at this point. Changes need to be made after this season, but what are they and how drastic do they need to be? Ugh.
Yeah,
Um, I think if Duke doesn't win at least three of their remaining five regular season games, minimum three, and one of those being Clemson or UVA, like we have to get a win over Clemson or UVA and get a minimum of three wins the rest of the way, I think. And if we don't, if we shit the bed and finish the season 6-6 with no wins over Clemson or UVA, or God forbid 4-8 or 5-7, I think we have some very real conversations about Manny Diaz's future as a Duke head coach. Because if I'm
yeah,
not mistaken, the complaints from the Miami fans when he was there was that he had the resources, he had the team, he had the money, he had the coaches. They won games, but they couldn't win the big games. And that's kind of to this point what we've been seeing here in his last 2 years or the last year and a half. We're 0-5 against ranked teams. And it's not because they're throttling us, it's because we just can't get going. So I think if we shit the bed the rest of the way and miss a bowl or don't get meaningful wins, conversations about the coaching staff need to be had.
Yeah, for me personally, I definitely think for me, the season's not a loss, but for the goals of what the season could have been, it was a loss after we lost to Tulane. That showed just a complete lack of fight, discipline, effort, that sewer mentality they've preached so hard the last few years. That's a game that I feel like 2022, 2023, 2024 Duke all wins that Tulane game, you know. And something is a little different this year. And after that game, I kind of started getting the notion that it might be a consistent issue throughout the year. Of course, they looked like they were going to turn it around there at the beginning of ACC play, and then just kind of have consistently, not changed, for lack of a better term. But I'm kind of in the same boat as Eli. I mean, I said on the last pod, I think we finish this year 7-5 and, go to the Wasabi Bowl or something and just chalk it up at this point. Like, I'm still going to be at the game, still going to cheer them on, root them on. But realistically, looking at wins and losses, I'm at 7-5 with hopes of 8-4, you know? So is that ever going to be enough to get Manny Diaz fired from Duke? No. Is that going to possibly become a problem and hinder us in the future? More than likely. So yeah, I'm all team on having those conversations if it happens, and especially next year. I can chalk some of it up to youth and some gaps in our depth across, and some injuries too. But injuries are going to happen every year. You got to get around that in the game of football. So, I maybe not at the end of this year, but if next season trended like this season and we kept a lot of our talent that we have right now, I would definitely be there.
Agreed. Um, let's take a look. Jason Rogers. Um, he says, must win game to stay relevant in ACC. Correct. Also in recruiting, in your opinion, also, sorry, to stay relevant in the ACC and in recruiting. In your opinion, how much has recruiting improved with NIL for incoming players? A
Yep.
lot, I
dr-
think.
Drastically. It's what's going to keep Duke relevant in modern college football. 2015, 2016 type of Duke teams couldn't stick around for much longer the way things are progressing now. And, as like slimy and gross as it might feel to say, but like we've got the money and, we might not have the most, but we certainly don't have the least. And we've got enough to be competitive and field competitive teams and, have competitive staffs and locker room upgrades and field upgrades and all this and that to continue improving. So yeah, I mean it's night and day compared to what we've seen throughout like our lives for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. It's Duke is I mean, Manny preaches it all the time, but it's a fact. I mean, it's just Duke is in such a unique place right now with they've been building up the value of playing football at Duke over the last 15 years. Um, you know, nowadays you can come to Duke and have a very real shot at making the NFL. Um, but also get that super high quality Duke degree that's largely unrivaled. I mean, I can't think of many more places, maybe Stanford 15 years ago, where you can get a degree that holds that much weight while also playing a high level of football and have a very real shot at making the NFL. Now, on top of that, we have a good amount of money, which is honestly king these days. Um, I think we now have the money to go get big time guys like Darian Mensah. But then we also have, you know, the educational side of it to go get guys like Cooper Barkate or like Ozzie Nicholas last year.
God,
Um,
Ozzy.
God, miss that guy, dude. We sure could use him right now.
God, man, I would love to have
Uh,
me a little Ozzy necklace on this team.
he was a beast. Um, but yeah, no, I think that NIL has helped significantly. Um, I think it more so though. I don't know. Do you think Noah it helps more in the portal or in the recruiting? I mean, obviously it helps in both,
So,
but
well, I'm like, it's and like this feels like such a shitty cliche thing to say, but like for Duke, it feels like it's helped both more than like other schools, I would say. Other schools, I feel like their high school recruiting was never going to fall off. The Bamas, Georgias, Texases, USC's, Notre Dames of the world, you know. high school recruiting for them was always going to be easy,
It's
and
just kind
it's
of helped
less
Duke get
expensive.
closer, like close that gap a little bit.
Exactly. The portal, we're on a pretty even playing field. High school ball, we never were.
Yeah.
And now with the ability, high school players aren't all that expensive. Like your three-star guys, so on, so forth. Some of these big time studs, yes. But we can be competitive for a lot of these four stars and things like that, and some five stars too, that we would have never been in conversation for before. Gompers and Davis, for example, out of the first group. Even Shopler, like guys like that. So
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a long time. That was David Cutcliffe's forte. It was like finding two stars, like diamonds in the rough, and like turning them into stars. Like, wasn't Daniel? Did DJ he either
he
had
had
two stars or
zeros.
zero stars?
He had
Yeah,
zero
he was a
stars.
walk
Yep.
on.
Hmm.
Um,
Like they didn't even like none of the like websites besides like Charlotte Catholics like on web. I mean Latins on website knew he had it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely helped us. Obviously, it helps in the portal, but it really does help a lot in the recruiting aspect as well. I mean, two of the highest rated recruits in program history in 1 year
Yeah.
speaks volumes. Um, our friend Will Kuntis, Wet Willie.
Wet Willie.
WTF does Duke have to do to win a big game? As the Clemson game is much bigger for them than us, I say that we coast and ensure that Dabo is the next coach at UNC. Oh man. What do we have to do to win the big game? God, I wish I knew.
I don't.
It's cut out the mistakes. We're
Yeah.
there with them. We talked about this last week. Section 17 talked about it. None of these losses that we've had the last couple years, with the exception of like Miami and Ole Miss, like those are the only two where like they just straight up throttled Duke, straight up belt to ass. We never had a shot. Duke was there with SMU. Duke was there with Illinois. Duke was there with Georgia Tech. It's just the self-inflicted wounds and like questionable play calling. It just tighten it up.
Yeah, that's like the big thing is like we always say it and like everybody can joke or whatever. It's like Duke just like they stare at the hump and like Duke's got a loaded gun pointed right at it, ready to just kill it and charge the hill. And then they just like start shooting at the ground at their feet. You know what I mean? It's just like it's infuriating. And there's no answer to it other than, play better, more sound football, which stems from coaching, you know. Fundamentals and things like that is where we lack the most. And we've said it many of times on the pod this year, but we do the hard things pretty damn well, but we don't do the easy things very well at all. So it's a weird thing that Duke football just decides to do.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating at times. It's almost to the point where it's like I've yelled this shit so much. We've talked about it, harped on it so much that it's like at this point I'm just like I can't like ugh. Um Now his point about this being a bigger game for Clemson than it is for us, obviously it's not a guarantee. Like obviously it's more of a joke and like a emotion thing than anything. But again, I made a joke about it on Twitter last week. Like given that Duke is having kind of a stinker of a season compared to what they thought they were going to have, and then the way Clemson season is going, this is definitely not as big of a game as we all thought it would be before the season started. Therefore, maybe Duke won't piss the bed, but who knows? At the end of the
Duke
day, it is
Duke will
still a
look
road
like the
game.
yeah, Duke will look like the '89 Bears since we're going for a wasabi bowl, but God forbid you put something above that on the table. It just
Similar to State this weekend against Georgia Tech. Now that there's no hope, it's all right. It's time to ball out.
time to get Dave Dorans fucking one more year.
Oh my God. That's
One
gonna be the
more
most
year.
State shit ever too, dude. Like watch them like win out.
They'll
They're
beat
gonna beat
Carolina by
Georgia
like
Tech,
35.
beat Carolina. Doran's gonna get extended. Their fans are gonna be on suicide watch. I've
They got to
seen the
play
script.
Florida State too. They'll be the people that get Norvell canned.
Yep.
Dave will get Norvell fired. That'll be so funny.
Yep. Our friend Timothy Gonzalez, he comes in with another banger question. Scums, if you could have breakfast, lunch, or dinner with three former Duke football players and talk about football and life, who would it be? And forget Duke men's basketball all access. It's all about Duke football all access with Manny Diaz. Love that energy, Timbo. Um, Three former Duke football players to sit down and have any meal and talk about life and football. You know what? Let's include coaches too. I'm overriding Tim's question and adding in coaches.
Oh, he's gonna be pissed, dude. That was his
Uh,
question. That was his question next week, dude. You just stole it.
um, I like who are you thinking?
So I'm
I
kind
think
of
Cutcliffe
going.
has to be in
I'm
there.
going like I'm gonna go three players, one coach. Three players from three eras.
Good call. Let's do
Um,
that.
my all-time favorite Blue Devil, just personally for me, Jeremy Cash, top of the list. Second would be Ben Humphreys, and
Mm.
third would be Clarkston Hines.
Ooh,
And then the coach I would want to have dinner with the most, and like, I don't give a fuck. David Cutcliffe, dude, kiss my ass. You know what I mean? If anybody hates that, get real.
real good selection. I like that. Clarkson Hines. Um, I'm thinking, who would I want to have a meal with? I mean, it'd be cool to like meet Daniel Jones just because like he's a star right now and he's like a household name in the
Dude,
NFL right now.
he just slams light beer too.
Yeah. I feel like he's low key a chiller on the low. Um, so give me it's basic, but give me Daniel Jones. Give me Jamison Crowder and give me you want to get dinner with Cirque?
He's a cool dude.
He's a cool dude.
He's ordering bourbon for the table too. You know his vibe.
He'll
Just
put
a
us on to some nice barbecue as well.
straight fucking chiller, you know.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I miss Cirque. Yeah, those three. I know it's kind of a recency thing, but whatever. Like
You going Cutcliffe on the coach too, or you going Spurrier?
it
I feel like for our generation, Cut's such an easy answer, but it's like the
yeah.
perfect answer because like he's the reason we even want to have this
He's the reason we're
podcast.
here. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's yeah, and I mean like it'd be don't get me wrong. I love to meet Spurrier and just talk about the Duke days. But yeah, I got to meet Cutcliffe for like 5 minutes and that was just special. And I'd love to just like because he's just so like wise and humble and kind and like I just feel like I'd get a lot of value and peace out of having a conversation with David Cutcliffe, you know?
couple glasses of Pinot with old Cut, you know,
Hmm.
by a fire.
He's a
God,
guy who I wouldn't mind having Bible study with. I don't do Bible study or enjoy it, but if Cutcliffe asked me to do Bible study, you bet your ass I'm there.
I'm there.
Uh, good question, Tim. Keep them coming.
Thank you,
Our
Tim.
friend Bentley Weeks says, I'm curious to know on paper who you guys think is a better team this week. I truly believe we are, and I just pray that we show it.
I mean, roster wise and like just like talent wise, I would still give the nod to Clemson. But we're not far off. We used to be real far
Yeah, there's
off.
not a huge gap.
Yeah.
We have one of the top quarterbacks in the country. We have probably the best freshman running back in the country. We have one of the best receivers in the country, I think, in terms of like statistics. Like statistically, he's there.
Yeah, he's
And
at the top of the
Barkay.
ACC for sure.
We have Chan, our D ends. I mean, honestly, if there's a gap, it's not very big at all. That's for damn sure.
Our gap almost comes from like our rotational and depth pieces.
Yeah,
And
as in
like
terms of like starting,
mhm.
where it's like this,
And our secondary compared to theirs after Chandler is
a real steep drop.
yeah.
Um, that being said, there's no reason if all goes to plan, like if everything goes, there's no reason there should be a visible gap in the terms of the talent on the field this weekend. There should not be.
Duke won't lose this game because of talent.
No, it'll be because the way they usually lose games.
Yeah. It'll be because of every reason you guys already know.
Yep. Our friend, the Duke of QP, says, Georgia scumbags, I'd like to ask a question. Is our conditioning worse this year? Georgia Tech was weird in that we controlled the time of possession for most of the game, but then we physically folded in the fourth. I'm not sure what it is, but we seem less blue collar than we used to be this season, or is it just me? Um, I conditioning, yeah, but also just like the defense for whatever reason just hasn't quite been there this year the way they were last year. The defense saved us last year. Our offense sucked last year. Our defense was our saving grace last year. This year, if we had last year's offense with this year's defense, we'd maybe have like one win, two wins. Um, all the big conditioning, I don't know if it's just like I think it's just natural. I mean, like, I don't know. Noah, what do you think? I'm trying to
I
figure out how to
attribute
answer this.
so like I was reading these earlier, and I attribute this more than anything in like and kind of what I mentioned earlier, like that sewer mentality hasn't felt there this year. I think it's like an age thing. Just sorry, excuse me. Being so youthful, and we've preached this all year, like our rotational guys are just so few and far between and so young. I think it's just, I think that they're as conditioned as they can be, but eventually that experience and in-game play late in the games has kind of taken over, like with Illinois, Georgia Tech, Tulane, more experienced teams have just throttled us in the second half. As compared to teams that aren't as experienced, kind of in the same boat as us, we've been able to kind of draw away from in the second half. So
Yeah, good points. Um, our friend Milo, he asks, if you could make Wallace Wade sell a new kind of beer, which would you choose and why? I mean, g- I'm a simple man. I love a domestic light, Mick Ultra, Bud Light, Miller if there's nothing else available. Um, they already sell all that, so I don't really have any requests. I think if they sold neutral, it's not a beer, but if they had neutrals, that'd be sick.
neutral mentioned. Yeah, I was like trying to think of like maybe something like North Carolina based or something. And like so um I'm in Charlotte. The Sycamore Brewing Company here has this like candy apple brew. And it's not like you would think with the name it would be like very fruity or cider or something like that. And it's like a good pilsner. So I was gonna go with that one.
Good call. I do like though that they have the Bull City Light stuff.
Yeah,
They
for
do have some
sure.
local stuff there, which I think is sick.
I think that's the first, like, because they didn't do it last year, I don't recall with that. So it's really good to see them integrating with the community and some businesses like that.
Agreed.
They need to
Hashtag.
fucking do that in the concessions too.
Yeah,
Lease
dude.
it out.
Yeah, dude. Durham has way too good of a food scene and be selling what they sell at the Wallace Way at the concession stands.
I am sick and tired.
And lastly, our friend the K, Frank the K, asks, who will be in attendance at the Clemson game? Thanks, Georgia scumbags. Just kidding. All of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Everyone but Jared, essentially, out of the scum grouping.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, this should be like the best attended Duke game, or at least road game, in terms of like the scum world since
Yep.
the inception of Scum Corp.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Scum HQ.
yeah, I
They might
think
be moving to upstate. Maybe that's where our base needs to be.
yeah. Wait, you're moving to upstate?
No, I'm saying like maybe Scum HQ needs to
Oh,
move. We're gonna move it from 15501 down to 85. And
yeah,
but no, Clemson just to I guess touch on environment stuff a little bit. But yeah, all of us will be there. It's kind of weird at away games. Duke for this one charging out the ass, and the tickets are like in the nosebleeds. It's a better deal to just kind of like get your own on the secondary.
yeah,
So our seating's all kind of spread out, but of course we're going to be in the same lots tailgating. I'll make a post on Twitter probably tomorrow or maybe Thursday, something like that, with our tailgate lot information. I know there's a lot of tickets left on StubHub in the parking lot that me and Garrett chose. So, if you guys feel free to come tailgate with us there, be set up rather early, I think. It'll be a pretty good crowd. I'm sure this is their homecoming game. I couldn't imagine they scheduled it for anybody else. So
Just whatever the
be
lowest attended home game is going to be.
yeah, so it'll be fun, and looking forward to it. Great environment, and it's kind of like our first, also like big stadium environment scum game as a group too, which is real cool. Been to a lot of smaller stadiums and stuff, but never
Yeah.
something like Death Valley.
Yeah, this will be interesting. Like a proper like college football environment for
Oh yeah,
sure.
for sure.
Uh, I gotta load in the dryer that I gotta check on. You want to take over best bets?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll knock that out real quick.
All right, go ahead.
All right, guys. So we've kind of been on a heater. Everybody's pockets are feeling good. Mine and Tyler's especially. Back-to-back 6 and 3 weeks. Hey, we're heating up. Needless to say, at this point last year, we might have been the worst gamblers in the United States. I'm talking Shohei's interpreter awful. Pete Rose bad, you know. Um, for you young bucks, you new fellas, Terry Rozier. Um, 39 and 27 on the year, 6 and 3 back-to-back weeks. Tyler's bets I'm gonna give up here first. Um, we have a couple of the same, but yet again, agree on all of them. ECU -4.5 versus Temple. Temple's not that good, kind of fell off from the early season highs. ECU's looking pretty damn good right now. They're rolling in Greenville. So 4.5 points to the Pirates. Then we're going to take Florida +7.5 versus UGA. Think UGA wins by a touchdown, but no, nothing more than that. So that half point is thin margins, but we like it. Georgia Tech -5.5 versus the Wolfpack. If there's a game, we were gassing this up earlier. If there's a game, of course, NC State would win on this schedule the rest of the way out. It would be this one. But all signs point to Georgia Tech winning by 30 plus after what Pitt did to State. So take Tech and the points on that one. Tyler's moneyline bet is the midnight feature, 11:59 p.m. kick on the Eastern Standard Time coast. Here, +105 Hawaii Rainbows over San Jose State, the former Steve Hartso's, if you will, Eli's father, big San Jose State guy. So Tyler's going against Steve on his bets. That's a tough look there. He's going against San Jose State, Eli.
Uh, this
And
has not been Steve's year.
yeah, poor old Steve. Tyler's going against him. But yeah, so there's Tyler's. Then mine, I've got Rutgers +12.5 versus Illinois. Illinois is kind of really flunkering right now, and Rutgers always covers. So give me them. The one me and Tyler both had was ECU -4.5. Then I've got Kansas State, who just throttled Kansas last week, +7 versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech starting quarterback just tore his ACL. It's a lot of points to give up for a backup quarterback. So I'm going to take K-State to cover that. And then my money line is Wake Forest +280 versus FSU. I'm all in. This might be nail in the coffin weekend for Norvell. Give me the Demon Deeks. And then our scum bet is Mississippi State after a heartbreaker against the Longhorns. Hook 'em. +165 versus good old Arkansas Sioux Pig. So make sure you guys get in on those lines sooner rather than later, as these are getting recorded on Tuesday. But hey, numbers don't lie. 39 and 27. We're plus money on the year. Read it, wait, folks.
They can say a lot about the scumbags, but they can't say that we tell lies, and they can't say that we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to sports betting.
We ain't broke, you know what I mean? Yeah, rent's paid.
Uh, so I just laughed. I was looking at the Facebook group and the post popped up that Josh put up this morning about their new episode, and his caption was, "Will Duke get over the hump? Or will Duke ever get over the hump?" And Tyler just commented, "No." I was actually going to do that, and I was like, I don't feel like stirring stuff up today.
Leave it to Tyler.
Yeah, blame it on Tyler. Um, all right, time to get into what we're here for, the Clemson game. Looking back, Duke is 17 and 37 and 1 all time against the Clemson Tigers. Um, just like most schools, Duke has an all-time losing record against them. Oddly enough, Duke is 13 and 15 versus Clemson and Wallace Wade. Similar to Georgia Tech, actually, like really bad all-time record against them, but like the home record against them isn't as terrible. Like it's still a losing record, but it's
We
not
caught
as
some
terrible.
breaks.
Yeah, we caught some breaks. However, we are 4-20 and one all time in Memorial Stadium. Last win at Clemson was in 1980. And I'd be curious
Jesus
to see how many
Christ.
times we've played there since then. I mean, I imagine it's been a good amount, but still, that's pretty bad.
It's
Last
crazy when you
time,
see stats like that and you just think like, damn, my parents weren't married in 1980.
yeah,
Like,
man, my dad
fuck.
hadn't graduated high school yet.
Yeah, like my mom was 10.
Let's see. All that to say, oh Jesus, we're never beating the allegations. I just Googled Duke versus Clemson all time, and the first thing to pop up is the basketball game coming up in February.
You
You know
can't
we're
Google
playing them in
Duke.
football this weekend, right?
Yeah. Can't Google Duke anything athletics without like you gotta put the sport or you're getting hoops.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, the last time these two teams met, everyone remembers is when a lot of Duke football fans were born, I feel like. Uh, Duke's massive upset over the Tigers on what was it? Memorial Day or Labor? It's Labor Day.
Yeah, Labor Day, Monday.
Labor Day night in September 2023 with that incredible 28-7 win. I think we were all there for that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we just didn't know each other yet. Head coach Dabo Swinney is in his 18th season of the Tigers with an all-time record there of 183 and 51, and he's 111 to 27 all-time in ACC play. Noah, talk to us about Cade Klubnik really quick.
Oh, preseason Heisman hopeful Cade Klubnik, not very good, folks. But he has shown some decent signs this year. Has been injured as well, so got to chalk that up a little bit. Just hasn't really filled the shoes and expectations like they expected. 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks, 100 yards rushing. He's questionable, but everything you've seen on the 247 boards and on Twitter pretty much says he's playing. But I feel like Dabo is really going to string us out on this one after we beat him 2 years ago. He's, getting it back in blood. So it'll be interesting to see how long it is till we find out for sure. But I would expect that's who we see on Saturday.
Okay, going back here for a second, at like the all-time serious matchup between Duke and Clemson. Jesus, man. I didn't realize they played like every year.
Oh
They
yeah, we were.
played, so they won at Clemson in 1980, and from 80, I mean, from there until 2008, they played every single year.
Oh yeah.
And that's crazy. And then from after '08, they played again in 2012, 2018, and then again in 2023. Whew, that is abysmal.
Yeah.
Um,
Duke logic. If you play somebody enough, you're bound to win one.
yeah.
That's why we keep playing Bama occasionally.
Oh
We're gonna
God,
sneak one
dude,
eventually.
we're due. We're due for another Bama
We're
matchup.
due against everyone.
They played in '05, played in 2010. Think after that it was 2019. So
Hmm.
we're low key due for another Bama matchup.
Soon.
Yeah, they can't duck us forever. Running back Adam Randall, a converted wide receiver. He has 85 carries for 443 yards on the season with 4 touchdowns, plus 24 receptions for 182 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. No other running back on the team has over 10 carries. Is that true? Wow.
No, besides him, every nobody else
No, yeah,
does
aside
though.
from him, which is crazy. So he's clearly like their one guy.
They pretty well,
He's their workhorse.
yeah, he wasn't even listed as an RB like up until like the third week of the season because like they had like three or four running backs all get hurt. So he's kind of just like this like last resort piece for
That's so
them,
crazy.
but doing well. So and he adds that dimension with the pass game as well. I mean, you see it there, 24 receptions. Klubnik's not been throwing the ball well downfield, so they've really relied on some screen game and short pass work as well, because the run game has also sucked. So when you can't run, short passes are the same thing as a run. So they're trying to incorporate it that way as well.
Yeah.
Something for Duke to stop for sure.
Looking at the receivers, Brian Wesco is the team's leading wide receiver in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. He did have an injury against SMU where he landed on his head and neck area, and he will miss the rest of the season. He has been released from the hospital and was a best case scenario per doctors. Okay, so he is out for the year. Behind him, there's TJ Moore. who has 26 receptions, 407 yards, and three TDs, and Antonio Williams, all ACC first team in 24 with 900 yards and 11 TDs last season. This year, he's sitting at 23 receptions for 225 yards. Their offensive line has allowed 11 sacks. Um, it's kind of a lot, right? At this point in the season.
Yeah, mentioned it earlier. That's a, rather high rate. They've struggled against really good pass rushers, and we've got them. So definitely need to execute in that department this coming week. And
Let those boys eat.
Harlan will have them boys ready. That's for sure.
Looking at the defensive side of things, they're sitting at 17 sacks as a team, 32 pass breakups, and five interceptions with five forced fumbles. So they're not too shabby, I
They
feel
got a
like.
great D line.
Yeah, similar to Duke. Their linebacker, Sammy Brown, has 48 tackles, two sacks, and two PBUs. Uh, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Wade Woodaz.
Wood ass.
Wade Woodass.
Tim's
Wade
gonna eat that up.
Wade Splinter Woodass. Sitting at 44 tackles and two PBUs. On the defensive line, Peter Woods, our defensive tackle, has 21 tackles and one sack. He's an anchor at the D line. His numbers aren't super gaudy, but he's an NFL caliber defensive tackle who will be playing on Sundays. Similar to our good friend Dwayne Carter a couple years ago. I feel like in 23, Dwayne didn't have like the flashiest numbers, but it's he was still the anchor of that D line big time
100%.
and was an NFL draft prospect. Um, Secondary, Avion Terrell sitting at 28 tackles, seven PBUs, and his brother is actually playing in the NFL, but Avion is already better than AJ is. Huh. Expect him versus Barkay to be an exciting matchup. That could be something interesting to look at.
Hmm.
Um,
He's the truth.
yeah,
He's
he's
probably the one corner in this conference that's better than Chandler Rivers, like by a decent margin.
now with him potentially shutting down Barkay this weekend. We'll see. But if Duke is wise, that should open up opportunities. I just heard a knock on my door.
FBI raid.
Yeah, right. That should open up opportunities for both um Higgins and Brown to eat this weekend, as well as maybe we'll see some Angelo Anthony sightings for finally. Maybe he'll have a career game this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, Noah, talk to us about some of their key numbers on defense.
Oh yeah. So just kind of pretty much like a Clemson wrap up. They score 26 points per game, give up 20 points per game, 400 yards versus 338 allowed. They're 38% on third down offense. Duke is 44% on third down defense. Movable object versus breakable force in full display there. Duke 44% third down on offense. Clemson is 34% third down on defense, top 20 in the country. They're pretty good on third down. Duke needs to stay in third and short. They need to get the second and medium often. We can't go backwards quick. We got to stay ahead in early downs. Um, Clemson is allowing 3.5 yards per carry and 6.4 yards per pass. Both things you could see Duke to take advantage of with an established run game with Shepard and trying to establish the mid to deep pass game with some of our deeper threats like Queso, Barcade, get Samir open on some of those deep posts, things along those lines. Um, they limit explosive plays. They don't turn it over, but they also don't force many turnovers. Clemson's a good team. Despite their record, the talent's still there. The coaching is also still there, regardless of what people think of Dabo. He's a good head coach. And, they just haven't clicked this year, haven't really figured it out. And it's going to be just a tight game all around. And, that's just kind of what it looks like right now. It says 3-4 on the schedule, but this game, doesn't feel like we're playing a 3-4 football team.
No,
When you look at the numbers, who they've got, and they've played some good teams this year, and non-con and stuff as well that they lost to. So, you know, I I know we're about to get into our picks and stuff like that, but that's kind of what Tyler had wrote out for his stuff as well. Just feels like a dog fight, So we'll see. It's gonna be great weather. It's gonna be good football weather, and it's gonna be a dog. It's gonna be a dog fight for sure.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing is like I know Clemson has had their struggles. I know like whatever, like they can say whatever they want. Dabo's on the hot seat. There's fireworks out of Clemson, whatever. Um, at the end of the day, there's still talent there. The same way that Duke does have the talent to overcome some bad coaching and bad play calls and just go out and do it because they're great athletes. It's the same thing for Clemson, if not more so. They've still got the athletes, they've still got the talent, they've still got the physicality. Um, even though it may not be clicking, they may not be the Clemson of old, they are still a talented football team, and they're not an opponent that Duke should take lightly. Um, I would have way more faith going into this game if I had been given a reason to have more faith from the Illinois and the Georgia Tech games, but I don't. So, getting into our picks for the game, Noah, what are you predicting here?
So I'll go ahead and knock Tyler's out real quick. Until Duke shows up for a big game, and despite Clemson being down, this is still a big game for the team. Can't pick them. Clemson wins 28-21. I'm not far off. I just think I think Duke wins 7 games this year. I think this is one of the losses we're gonna eat out of the two that makes us 7-5. So I've got Clemson beating us 31-24. I don't think it's a heartbreaker though. I think we kind of maybe try to come back late and just fluster out down 7.
Hmm. I mean, the number, yeah, I'm gonna take a line from Tyler here. I'm gonna first of all my prediction, and this brings me no joy, but as a football fan and somebody who's seen this Duke team quite a lot, I've got Clemson pulling this one out 38-21. So 38-21 Clemson. And I've got I'm gonna take a line from Tyler. You wonder why we're being negative, or like you don't want us to be negative, don't want us to predict Duke to lose these games. Prove us wrong.
Win one.
Win the games, and we won't predict this. It brings us no joy. This is not us saying. I think a lot of people don't understand like predictions versus like what you want. Just obviously because like I predict Duke is going to lose doesn't mean I want them to.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard for people to differentiate like our just honest raw football opinions and like just from
oh,
what
you're
we
a bad
see.
fan.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, I just like I can take my Duke sunglasses off and put my big old NCAA college football shades on and just like look at it and just see it for what it is. And
Yep.
we don't claim to be like the all knowers of football and things like that, but we get a lot of things we talk about right. And a lot of people, as many, there's really not that many people, but as few of people like to say that we don't on the internet. A lot of people come up to us in person, online, and tell us all the time how much they like the pod, what we talk about, what we preach. So it we don't want to predict this way, but it's just what we believe. And of
Yep.
course, like Eli's saying, like we're going to this game. We're gonna be tailgating. Like I'm not just gonna be like, oh, Duke's gonna fucking lose. Like I'm gonna go to Clemson. I'm gonna like in my mind, I'm gonna know in the back of my mind, I'm expecting us to lose, but I'm gonna cheer like I'm like we're gonna win. Nothing's gonna change in that department. So
Yep. Yeah. I've also sorry, we're starting to rant a little bit here, but yeah, it's just I've talked to a good number of like, people like it seems that like the players love us. We're close with a lot of the players. The parents love us for the most part. The fans whose opinions are worth the shit and who I like and who I care about and who I want to like, they all like us. So if the only people who don't like what we have to say are the people whose opinions we don't value at all in any way, shape, or form, I think we're doing all right.
the people that tell
Um,
us to sit down at football games are the only people that don't like us.
yeah, and then also like, I've seen people say, "Oh, I just think it doesn't do any good to, be negative or be anything but positive." Actually, no, it doesn't do any good to be only positive all the time because like you gotta correct things. If your
Complacent
son, if your kid is constantly fucking up and you're not punishing them, what good is that doing?
Complacency kills, folks.
Amen. Anyhow, sorry, we got off on kind of a rant there. Thanks for tuning in. Tyler
Yeah.
will be back next week. A good majority of the scum camp is planning on being at the game. So would love to see some folks down there. Again, that is unless you have something to say in terms of complaints. In which case you can forward to our
For
complaint
this
department.
HR
Yeah,
at Timothy Gonzalez.
yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Would love to see a big game, big win this weekend. We'll see you guys in Clemson. Let's go, Duke.